Hey guys, welcome back to Whalen Wire's Old Iron. You know, this last week I had a lot of appointments and I didn't get out here in the shop every day, but I spent quite a bit of time out here and it seemed like I just spent all that time out here and got nothing done. Kind of hit a wall every direction I went, so I just started backing up. Yeah, this video, I don't know. I filmed so much and so long ago I don't even know what all's on it, but it's pretty much going to be a hodgepodge of things, I think. And there may be a couple things that I get to follow through on and make sense, but I don't know. If you don't have ADD, you may not be able to watch it. But there's a couple hundred of my loyal subscribers out there who will watch it. And man, I'm grateful for that. That's wonderful. Makes me feel good. But I had one guy say one time, he said, you can take a nap and I'd watch. And I go, nah, that's just creepy, man. So I catch Joshua, he does that sometimes. I'll wake up and he'll be sitting there staring at me. Creepy. All right. Let's take a look at what we didn't get done around here this last week.
Hey, welcome to Rat Rodding. My name's Whalen Wire, and don't ever do what we do here on this channel.
Well, look what showed up today. And I was absolutely floored, flabbergasted, one might even say, when I found out they were glass. Isn't that something? Very rare to get that kind of quality nowadays. And the old ones were plastic. That's why they're burnt and cracked and everything, I guess. Well, good. That's going to be pretty cool. I may even put amber bulbs in there just to double down on the amber. I don't know. We'll see. You don't need it, but it might look pretty cool. Well, I'll tell you, that is plumb pretty. Wow. I like that. That's gonna look good. Well, I'm out here playing around in the shop a little bit tonight, and I have this little fuse block that came out of the truck that I'm using, the front clip and the rear end dually out of 64, I believe it was, GMC 1-ton. This is what was in it, and this will be plenty for what I need to do. Yeah, I just don't need, I'm not asking a whole lot out of this. I think it'll just have everything that I need. Have I mentioned how much I dislike wiring? You know, I learned a lot though when I wired that Dojelac. I'm going to tell you about that Dojelac and my wiring. Now the Rockabilly was pretty simple, and no air compressors, no solenoids, no bags, nothing. Just headlights, taillights, signal lights, on off switch. That's about it. So the Dojelac, a little more involved. And I started, I built that thing, and I always have this disclaimer, I'm not a car builder. I don't know anything about this stuff, but I'm learning, I learned a lot on that Dojelac. I learned a whole lot about what not to do. And that's how we learn, isn't it? Sometimes us old guys that are from the school of hard knocks, that's how we learn. And those hard lessons, boy, we learn those well. So the Dojelac is a disaster, and I'm the first one to tell you that, because I made so many mistakes along the way. And here's what I did. I wired up the only thing that's really decent about that wiring is the front headlights, signal lights, and everything. I started out at the furthest point from the fuse block, and I used a little wire loom until I got over to the other side and added in the other headlight wires and the signal light wires, and that went into a little bit bigger loom, and I don't know if there was anything else I picked up along the way, but horn wire maybe. I know it's got air horn on it. So anyway, yeah, and then ran that to the fuse block through the wall or through the floor in a nice little grommet, and that turned out pretty sanitary. Well, the rest of it is bad. It's well, I just kept adding components and wiring them in, and I added the air compressor, two air compressors, added those in. I had to switch on those, and then I had all the solenoids for raising and dumping the air, and there's 4 of those, I guess. And is there 4 of them? Yeah. So I added all those, and then I wired those in, and then I have the radiators, and I have the electric fans, and I have the relays, and I have all of that, and I wired that all in, and oh, there's a panel. I built a pretty nice little panel that hangs on the back, and that's got the relays and the fuses and everything for the air compressors, all that. But seems like there's something else that I wired in. It was, and then now it all just looks like a big bowl of spaghetti, and the only redeeming value it has is not all the wires are red. poor old Matt Chevaholic, he had a car come in one time, and it was everything was red, all red wires. You didn't know what was what. So I didn't do that. But what I did do, and I cannot remember now why I did it, but at the time, it may be the solenoids that lift and lowered the rig. I'm not sure, but something. I had to run power to all that stuff, and then I had to run switches to all that stuff. So it's just a big bowl of spaghetti. And for some reason, and like I said, at the time, now I don't remember why, but at the time I thought it was a good idea to break the ground on something. And I don't know, I don't even remember what it is. I'm gonna have to figure it out. But you know what needs to happen, and I might get into that this next summer. I need to rip everything out. I need to just rip all the wiring out of that, except for the wires that go to the front headlights and signal lights, pretty much, and maybe the ignition and starter, and just start over, because everything is an afterthought. Well, need this, now need this. And so I learned what not to do. Now, I hate wiring, but I do like it. The reason I dislike it is because I'm not good at it. But I'm trying to get better. And there's a guy in Yakima. I know this guy in Yakima. And I could rip all that wiring out there and take it to him, and that's his business. That's what he does. And he does a nice job, and I'm sure he charges a premium because he does excellent work. And the harness that he uses is not that little old plastic stuff that's split down the side that looks kind of funky. And he uses some really nice wire loom. And I could rip everything out and take it to him. And I don't know what it costs, probably $2,000 or $3,000 at least, But I wouldn't learn anything, would I? And some of you might say, well, Waylon, why do you need to learn how to do wiring at your age? You know, because I want to keep learning. I want to learn something about this hot rodding and rat rodding and building and fabricating. I hope to learn something there right up to the very last day, to the day I kick the bucket. You know, I just think that's what a feller ought to do. So I think I'm going to attempt to rewire that rig and try and do a better job. And I think I can, but it's a headache for me. It's a nightmare, you know, Lordy. But I think I can figure it out. It's going to take some time. Anyway, that's my story about why I dislike wiring so much and the task that I have in front of me. So what I learned about that was on this rig, I'm doing things differently. I learned what I should have done on that Dozilac. Put all your components in. Put your air compressor in, mount it wherever you're going to mount it. Put your solenoids in if you got them, wherever they're going to mount. Fans, pretty much go radiator fans, you know, I've got that in there. I've actually got it wired up, I think, but I'll need to run that wire along with my light wire from the front. So, you know, I'm going to add all my components. I'll eventually add the rear lights when I figure out what I'm going to do with the rear end on this thing. I'm still kind of toying around with things in my brain, but I'm probably missing something. But add all the components and then map it out. Map it out all mapped out on paper so you can take that diagram and then wire everything in so it'll be nice and clean. That's what I learned from doing it all wrong on the Dozilac, and I'm going to try and do a better job on this one. I am going to do a better job, but that's my approach, is to first put in all the components, and then I can draw it out. I can draw out a diagram of how the wiring should run and where it'll be the cleanest and safest and all that. Okay, that's the plan. Let's see how it goes. You know, when I mounted this tack, I wanted a gear-driven tack. So I got one, and I built this mount for it, and somebody commented and said it doesn't go with the truck, you know, and they're right. It doesn't match with the era. It's not old school. It doesn't have the old school look. It's more of a steampunk kind of look. And I tell you what, when I get done with this thing, there's going to be a whole lot about it that don't match the truck. Hey, speaking of, it's already started, but that's okay. You know, this is not about doing everything correctly and all that. I've got some comments about doing things, how I do things wrong, and that doesn't bother me, because, you know, the guys that are out in the shop actually doing something, they don't ever say nothing, you know. I'm sure that Chevaholic and Mr. Heavy Chevy and a whole lot of others watch me do stuff and just shake their head, you know. But they just say, he'll figure it out, you know. They don't have nothing to say about it. Okay. This tank is out of like a B-17 bomber. Before they didn't have a pressurized cabin, so they wore an oxygen mask. This is the type of tank they used, and these bands on here keeps it from exploding. It's called a shatterproof tank. And the B-17 had 18 of these tanks, and each one would let one guy breathe for 4 or 5 hours. And then the tail gunner, he had a tank that only lasted an hour or two, and then somebody had to refill his tank. But this is so cool. I just want to use it for my air tank. And I researched it really, really well and found out time and time again that the pressure rating on these things is from 400 to 600 pounds. Well, all I don't need much to shift this thing. I just need air to shift it and run my air horns, and maybe a couple of airbags in the back. I'm not positive on that yet. If I'm going to do a 4-link system, I might, just to get rid of those leaf springs, because I don't have enough weight to make them function properly. I could take a bunch of stacks, leaves out of the stacks, you know, but they're kind of in my way. If I do what I'm thinking about doing with the back end, if I go that route, they're in the way. And 4-link system, probably a parallel 4-link. I did a triangulated 4-link on that Dojelac, and it worked out real well, but I don't think I have room for that on this one. But parallel 4-link with panhard bar, primo. And that allowed me to get rid of some of that frame in the back where that rear spring mount is, that rear perch, to let me do the kind of design that I want to do for the back end. But back to this thing, yeah, I just need enough pressure, and those airbags don't take much because they won't be used to raise and lower the vehicle. They're just for ride height and ride comfort, that's all. So this is such a cool looking piece that I really wanted to use it for my air tank. But I'd like to mount it where it's visible. It's just really a good steampunk kind of looking thing. So there's room right behind the radiator. I could put it in there, but then nobody could see it. So I'm just kind of thinking about where I might mount it, where it would be visible. And this is the opposite side of that tack mount, and that's pretty out there, man. That's pretty far out and gaudy and obnoxious and ridiculous, and that's my style right there. So yeah, it could go right there, and it just might. I'm telling you, there ain't no telling what I'll do. Look out, jump back, hang on. This has always been temporary as well. I just left it on there to show people how back in the day these things were made out of such metal that you could weld right to it. I mean, I just think it's so cool. They just got out the old welder, and the guy laid a pretty good bead too. I don't know if that's a gas weld. You know, he probably did that with gas and a coat hanger. But that's pretty nice, you know that? That ain't bad. Yeah, I like it. But it's got to come off because that's, well, it just wouldn't look right with one, and I'm not going to use it anyway. And if I were to do 2 up the back, don't think I will, but if I were to, I'd want something different than that anyway, bigger. Got 6 pipes on each side, man. Well, I've had this on the shelf for 2 or 3 years now, I suppose. I've got 2 compressors in here, and I didn't know they were chrome when I ordered them. Those are for the Dojlac, because I have one that doesn't work. And I got this as replacement. And the one that does work, I'm going to take off. I'm going to put both these nice ones on the Dojlac. And I'm going to take the one off the Dojlac that works and use it on this for my a pump for my air supply. Like I said, I don't need much air and don't need it real often. So yeah, I think that's the plan. So tomorrow, I'm not going to do it tonight, but tomorrow I'll go out, and if it's not too cold, I'll go out and pull that compressor off. I think I know which one works, but I can test it real quick. Anyway, yeah, moving right along. And then when the weather gets better, I got to get that Dojlac in here. I got a lot of work to do on it. So it'll be coming back in. I want to plan to drive it a little more this summer. I didn't drive it at all last summer. And the fuel hoses are rotten on it. And I got to replace them with some fuel injection hose. That holds up better to the stinking ethanol gas that causes rigs to burn up and burn down and burn all around. Well, I got a friend who calls these tanks a watermelon. He's got a couple of them, and boy, as much as I wanted to use that watermelon, it's just not working out. It just doesn't look right, no matter where I put it. I really wanted to mount it on the firewall, but it's just too big, even for me. And it won't fit under there. Yeah, there's room for it under there, but you can't get it in there because of that cross member. It's too fat to poke up in there. So I guess the watermelon's just gonna hang from the rafters again for a while until I figure out something to do with it. I could mount it on the back of the cab and it wouldn't look too bad. You know, it looked like a big air filter on a semi truck or something back there, but it gets in the way with kind of what I have planned to do with the back end here. So unless something else works out different back here, and if I got room, then I'll mount it back there on the back of that cab, but I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Well, ain't this a revolting development? So I got to order a different one. Should have taken a measurement on it, but I didn't. You know, I ain't the sharpest tool in the shed, obviously. And I could edit out all my dumb moves, you know, but I don't. What you see is what you get. This is what ethanol gas does to your hoses. And that's what caught my truck on fire. You gotta use fuel injection hose. You know, I was gonna just cut this in half and take some out and do a little bit of redneckery, a little archy rigging, and put a piece of hose, short piece of hose in here and shrink this down, but it's a different kind of fitting on the end anyway, so it won't work. And I'm not sure, I couldn't find anything. I'm pretty good at scouring the internet for stuff, but I couldn't find one that's 6.5 inches center. They're all 8 to 9, 8 something to 9 something, and even the adjustable one is between 8 and 9 something. So I've had to resort to just some redneckery here, you know, but I can make something out of metal with some fittings out of metal line. This will do in the meantime. I'm not going to run it anyway right now. My first thought was to fire it up and drive it in the shop and swap out those compressors, but I don't think I'm going to do that just yet. I think I was going to do that because it was so cold. It was just too cold to do anything out here, and but it's a nicer day today. About 48 or so. I mean, I'm out in shirt sleeves, you know, feels pretty good, but by Thursday night, it's supposed to be back down to 8 degrees again. A high of 25 or something like that on Thursday. Or did it say? I don't know. It's ridiculous. It's just like this winter is never going to end. Have I mentioned that before? So yeah, I'm going to, instead of driving this thing in the shop, I'd have to move a bunch of snow and all that. So instead of doing that, I think what I'm going to up and went and did was just rob that one good compressor off of this thing. And then, you know, and I hate that because then it'll be sitting here broke down, which it has been anyway because I had that fuel leak in this line. But I don't know. I'm gonna try to give this thing some love this summer. I'll tell you the truth. I'm gonna be real honest here. The wiring is such a mess on this thing that I can't drive it and enjoy it, and I kind of lost interest, but I need to rejuvenate that interest, and I will, because it's fun to drive, and I need to try and get it back in shape this summer. I guess it's going to take pretty much a total rewire, and oh, I dread that. Oh, I'd rather have one of Mama's whoopings than to have to wire a rig. Especially one with all this thing. It's got all these solenoids and all this air compressors and on and on. So anyway, I'm gonna rob that compressor off this thing. Oh, this is the good one over here. Well, it said it'd be broke down, but actually I could still air up this tank because when I put this in, I kind of had a little forethought here, and I put this chuck on there, and I can air that up. I've done that several times when it's in the shop. Well, I'll tell you, I think something wrong with my karma. You know, my planets are just not lined up or something, because everywhere I turn, I just seem to hit a wall. And I went to rob that compressor off the Dojalac, and it was proving to be too difficult to get to the wiring without putting it on the lift, because it's pretty full back there, and my little panel, fuse panel, and everything is underneath the bottom, so under the frame. So anyway, I decided, well, I'll just go ahead and I'll use this set here, and then I'll pick up a extra one later on to put on the Dojalac. But what I am going to do is I got to yank these seats out. I got to get that other seat out and get these seats ready to go to the upholsterer, because my fabric is supposed to be here today. Actually, it was supposed to arrive, Saturday, but it got hung up in Troutdale, Oregon, and it's on a FedEx truck right now. So I want to have these seats ready so that when it shows up, I can take them out to the guy. And I just noticed this one here. This one panel seems to be bent in pretty bad. Well, maybe not pretty bad, but a little bit, enough to bug me. So yeah, I'll have to straighten that out. And what I mean by get them ready is I got to drill some little holes in the back. Well, I can just add one here and one here, but I got to drill some in the bottom as well for the little tie strings to hold the cushion in place. So yeah, I got a little bit of work to do on them. I'll get that done. Yeah, this got a curve to it. Comes in a little bit. See if I can knock that out. Some tough metal. Talk about the body work. That's pretty good. I expect a call from Chip Foose any day. Okay, I've got these little metal tabs in here, and I'm gonna cut those off because I'm afraid the fabric will get caught on that and tear it. I don't know what kind of bottom he's gonna put on it, but I think whatever it is, these need to go. So yeah, I guess I'll just get busy and cut those out. Garbage, Harbor Freight. Garbage, Harbor Freight. Trying to figure out what's broken. Is it the battery or is it the housing? I don't think it's either one. I think it just wore out. I don't see anything broken. Garbage, Harbor Freight. It's the last time it's going to do that to me. Here's the bit I was looking for anyway. It's still in the other drill. I got a cat story to tell you.
It's story time with Uncle Waylon.
I'd take old Joshua to the vet. I didn't have to, but I did. He got to start getting some hair loss and spot on his neck and down the front of his chest a little bit. And this broke out into a sore, and pretty soon it was an open wound. And so I thought, I better take him in. It happened one time last summer. It was a little bit different, but same thing, hair loss and sore. And I just let him go, and he healed up. But this time I thought, well, I'll take him in and try to find out what's going on. Well, I got in there, and they said, well, we'll have to do a biopsy and send that off. And then they started upselling me on all this stuff, you know. Got to catch up on all these shots, because I got him at the pound. And I brought him home and turned him loose. It's the last doctor he ever saw. Been about 3 years now, I guess, since I lost old Sparky. But yeah, and then they had to give him a rabies shot. Man, I hope my shot don't blow away, because I'm in here. Whew. Boy, it's blowing out there. 1,000 miles an hour. So yeah, I left him, and they were going to put him to sleep and sew the wound up, and give him a bunch of stitches and all this. And I left, and pretty soon my phone's ringing, and everybody's in a panic. Oh, we need that money before we do anything. We got to have $750 before we start. And I went back in there, and I said, well, apparently somebody thinks I'm going to abandon the patient and skip town with all the loot. So I'm here to take care of it, you know. Well, I went back and got him, and it was $888. And then they tried to upsell me again. Said, well, we noticed he threw up a little bit. I recommend giving him a shot so he won't throw up when he gets home. But that's $32. And I said, he's a shop cat. If he wants to throw up, he can throw up. And he can clean it up too. So anyway, yeah. Then they called me and said, well, they don't know exactly what it is. They got the results back from the lab, and it could be a food allergy, but they're not sure. And I don't know. He just eats the cheapest dry food that I can find, because that's what Sparky ate, and that's what he's going to eat too. But anyway, I took him back. Had to take him back 10 days to get his stitches out. And so I did that, and the receptionist said, well, you're good to go, when they brought him out. And so I left. Pretty soon my phone's ringing again. They're in a panic again. She goes, oh, I was supposed to charge you for that shot. They gave him a follow-up booster shot, and that's $51. And here I am, I'm in this cat for $1,000. Got a $1,000 cat. And given where and how I grew up, it's pretty amazing that I took a cat to the vet. We never took anything to the vet. Cats and dogs were tough back in the 50s and 60s, so they just had to get over it. So that's what he's going to do next time. He's going to get over it, because he's dipping into my rat rod money. Man, I like him, but I can't have that. So it was funny, because after this whole incident, I saw this comedian, and he's hilarious, man. This guy, I'm gonna put a link down below the video for you if you guys want to laugh. Boy, he's funny. He's good. So he tells a story about a cat. He said this guy, he saw in the news where this guy had a loaded gun in the house, and it accidentally went off and killed the cat. So this comedian, he says, if you're a guy and you've got a loaded gun and there's still a cat walking around, kind of your fault. Well, that was a good run. Man, the fabric came in and this pipe came in. Noah got a light bar for Christmas for his, a light for his brat. And we were looking at places to mount it. It didn't just look quite right down in front of the bumper. Plus, there'd be a chance of it getting damaged, rocks and stuff. So I told him we'd build a light bar. And as soon as he went to work and got enough money to buy the pipe. So he did. And here it is. So we're going to build he's going to build. It'll look kind of like a roll bar behind the cab and mount that light up on top, and that's going to be pretty cool. We're excited about that build. And I told him I want him to build it so that if anybody asks, where'd you get that? He can say, I built it by myself. So, you know, he was up here one day and he grabbed a piece of rebar and bent it on each end and cut some little plates out and drilled holes, and he went out and put it in. He built himself a grab handle for the passenger side, mounted that up above the door. So he's pretty innovative, pretty handy. He can do it. He said he had trouble welding the thin stuff in school when he was taking welding class in school. And but I'll help him with that. I'll help him get the heat set just right and show him how to stitch it if he needs to. But this is pretty thick. I think he'll be able to weld it okay. It's like 16 gauge, I think. Pretty heavy. So that'll weld up good. Anyway, that's going to be a fun project. We're looking forward to that. And then there's this. I'm pretty excited about this too. Maybe get you guys set up here somewhere. Yep, I found a place on the internet that would custom print this stuff. And it's a little bit bright just because these things are old and faded and everything. Because this is the actual image of the GMC tartan that I found on the internet. Anyway, you know, I adjusted the size down so it was just perfect. So the squares are exactly the same size, and it's a little brighter, but this is kind of thin. It's canvas, so you know it'll be good to. It should wear well, and should be okay to wash it off if you need to. But I think if I have him put a piece of black fabric on the back side, it might darken it just a little bit. Maybe not. I don't know, but he'll know what to do. But if it doesn't, that's fine too. That's gonna. I don't know. It don't take much to make me happy. I'm excited about this. I'm gonna build my door panels out of this too. And there's a couple of my subscribers that have a good sense of humor. They suggested that if I had enough material left over, that I should build myself a kilt. So when you see the old Wayland in a kilt, that burns an image that you won't be able to forget for a while. You are welcome. Okay, I got the clear coat on these seats, and I think that's going to look really good. Finally going to have me something nice. All right, I think that's enough. All right, fellers, once again, that's it for this one. Thank you so much for stopping by, and until I see you next time, you know I sure do appreciate you. And we'll see you soon, right back here on Whalen Wire's Old Iron.